So number 6 was a mic check. What that means, I use Zoom. And so what I do to test my mic is that I go into the Zoom settings, like at the time that I'm starting it, and I check my microphone. I push test mic, and then it'll play it back to me, and I'll make sure that the sound quality is what I'm looking for. Number 7 is you do a pre-interview. The thing that I would do, and I'll always do, is before I start recording, I naturally do this. I say, what do you want to, this is who my avatar is. This is who my listener is. Tell me what you would like to pour into them. What do you, if you only left this podcast today with me and you only said one thing to that person, what would it be? And so that just has always become part of my natural way to go. Before I start recording, I do. I've made this mistake before that I jump into the recording. I might just be meeting the first person for the first time, or I might know their first name, but not their last. And that maybe they have a complicated first name or spelled super weird or from a country that you're not familiar with. And so what I continue to do is I've done this so many times with the person's name where I do all of the other things. And then I jump in, I'm like, welcome back to this podcast, whatever your podcast name is. Welcome back to the podcast. It's your host, John Smith. And today I'm joined with, how do you pronounce your name? Okay, let's start over. So there's an option. There's an option. So you should just do it in the beginning as a part of your checklist. Like you should just make sure and verify that you are pronouncing somebody's name the way that they want you to pronounce it, saying, maybe they go by a nickname, maybe they go by John or Jonathan, whatever. Maybe they go by something else. So how do you want to be addressed? How do you pronounce your name? Okay, cool. And now you're in. Now you're ready. Number 7 is the pre-interview, where you try to figure out all of those details. I'm going to say number 11 is making sure you're pronouncing the name right. Then go back into number 8, the avatar. Who is your avatar? If I'm thinking about a whole giant audience, it's going to make me feel awkward and I'm not going to be able to really connect with anybody. But if instead I just think of the one person, like my real perfect avatar, and in some case, 2 people. I've got my main avatar and I have a secondary avatar. So I've got to have my main avatar is I'm visualizing them in the room, having a real actual one-on-one conversation, but a secondary avatar, maybe their friend is sitting right next to them, somebody who's not quite as far along. And that way I can make sure everybody's on the same page and I'm truly serving the people in my podcast that I serve through my business. Number 9 is the energy level. Before I start any podcast is I take a breath and I ground myself. I consider, I make thoughts. I think about my avatar. Yeah. I think about if I'm standing, but I also kind of stretch, take a deep breath, and I get in the headspace or the mind space of delivering at the right energy level. And to me, that means that I want to have an energy level of somewhere like a 6 or a 7. I want to be slightly above the average person. And so where I'm joyful, I'm supportive, I'm helpful, I'm passionate about what it is that I'm speaking on. And so I clear my mind and I get in that headspace with a nice deep breath. Number 10, you want to make sure you freaking press record. Super important. And then number 11 again was making sure you know how to pronounce the person's name. And that might go with all your pre-prep and your research, but it also might happen because you can't actually always find that. So it might happen when you're on the pre-interview and you just say, hey, how do I pronounce your name, or what do you want me to address you by?